Hi everybody, it's Chris over at Dixieland Farm, and today I'm going to be talking about opera and my opera collection. And I have an opera collection. And if you're like most people, you don't have an opera collection. As a matter of fact, you don't like opera. You don't like opera at all. You may even like classical music. You may even have an extensive classical music collection, but you just don't like opera. And I get it. I totally get it. I didn't always like jazz, but I liked big band, swing kind of jazz growing up as a kid. My father used to play it, and that's sort of when Hooked on Classics came out, and Hooked on Swing. So these K-tel kind of, they weren't K-tel, but this kind of cheesy version of jazz, and that's how I got into swing music. And so more complicated jazz, it took me a while to get it, and the thing that made it work for me was whatever the solo instrument was, which was usually saxophone or trumpet. I just kind of imagined, well, this is really no different than what a guitarist would be doing a solo on a rock record. And once I thought it like that, it kind of opened up everything for me, right? So the noise of that instrument and the free form playing, like, it broke free in my mind, and I was able to appreciate it. And then I like jazz, and not only that, I kind of liked the lower end of free jazz, not the super hardcore stuff, but into free jazz, liked it. So opera, I never understood how people could like opera. The neighbor would play opera growing up, and I just screeching to me. So I wanted to figure it out, and then it's the same thing. I got Opera for Dummies. This is actually a very good book, by the way. I would recommend this if you are interested. And so the vocalist is just another instrument in the piece, and composers loved opera. Most of your favorite classical composers, they actually, out of everything they did, opera was that was their favorite pieces usually. They did all those other side compositions to make money so they could make an opera. And they did everything they could to make the opera. The opera was the thing. That was it. And subject matter may put you off, you think, but most of the subject matter is murder and adultery. So lots of sex, lots of killing, and just the worst tabloid-like things go on in opera. And then it usually gets wrapped up. Or it's about gods. And the gods are usually murdering and sleeping around. So it was a way to get in, not clandestine, but this kind of subject matter, it's salacious to people. And then it will wrap up with a morality tale at the end. But really, it was it was definitely tabloid-like material being thrown into operas. And operas were for common people. It wasn't just the aristocrats. Plenty of common people watched operas in the cheap seats, but they certainly did watch it. And part of the key of opera is you do have to know the story going in. And these people who watched when the operas came out, they certainly knew the stories going in. So they didn't have to follow along so deeply in what was going on, because they knew what was going on already. And before the advent of some technology, some operas were converted into your mother tongue, right? So Italian opera made into English, German opera made into English. And of course that doesn't work with the music, because they were, when it was being composed for that language. And once we were able to have subtitles broadcast on some kind of screen, that's when you watch an opera, there'll be like an LED display or something with the translation going. Once we were able to have live translation, that has pretty much gone away. So whatever it was composed in is the language you're going to be hearing. And operas are musicals. That's all. They're just musicals. No different than your typical Disney movie now. There's singing and plot points, and then at some point the action stops and there's a song about what is going on at that moment. You might as well consider that moment is frozen in time, and that is when you get the big arias. That's where you get the showstoppers. Everything in between, the sing spiel, it's dialogue, but it's sung in kind of a little pattern. It's not so much to be paid attention to. It certainly can be beautiful, but it's not the big showstopper. If you want to get into opera, you should be watching opera. It is not a medium to be listened to. You don't listen to operas, you watch operas. You can go on YouTube and see full-on operas for free. Not a problem. So you can also download, buy. So these right here are full performances of operas. This is the opera collection, really. You should be watching them being acted out with a full stage and set. Not listened to. Consider these the soundtrack you listen to kind of relive the experience. Also recommend, if you don't really want to get too deeply into this, you go for the greatest hits. So this is a excellent series. It's it's a 6 CD set of opera classics. I got this for $20 on Amazon. This is pretty much all the opera that you're ever going to need. It's all the arias that are, the big ones. Something like this, and your opera collection is mostly done already. But the thing that got me into, I guess, appreciating it was seeing Messiah live. I saw this in college live, and this is not an opera, but it is choral vocal singing done by a classical composer, and very similar, to opera. This was just a beautiful thing to watch, and one of the few times I can definitely say I felt God's presence in a concert. This was it. I felt it, and if Messiah ever plays near you, it is in English. Right? Yeah, I think it's in English. Watch Messiah during Christmas time, because it's about the birth of Christ. Lots of your classical music, you're not the only one who doesn't like opera, so they'll have opera without opera, right? So here's that music about Turandot from Puccini, but opera without words. And opera highlights, because these things can be long. 3 hours, not unusual. And the Ring cycle, which is not a typical opera, is like 9 or 10 hours. So here's some Verdi, Rigoletto, and La Traviata. Traviata. I said it right. I think I did. Yeah. So opera with just the orchestra playing. Same thing with here. You had some Wagner. The Ring cycle, that was that 9 hour plus opera that I was saying. And that's where, from the Ring cycle, which is like Lord of the Rings, if you think of like a trilogy, this is 3 operas that are all together. So the phrase, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, well, they're referring Brunhilde in the Ring cycle, who is like a Viking god, I think. So here's Wagner, Der Ring der Nibelung, yeah, so the Ring. And you know this music, even if you don't realize you know it. If you watched cartoons, growing up as a kid, you know this music. So here's more Klempner, Klemperer conducts Wagner. I bought this for 95 cents. A hefty little. Oh, jeez! Let me just show you. This guy's fun at parties. Holy crap! Yeah. So. Beautiful set. Nobody wants this stuff, and certainly nobody wants it on vinyl. So this is looks like it's just a two record set on Beautiful Angel Records. Couldn't pass that up for 95 cents. made in 1960. Wonderful. Again, your kind of greatest hits, so 50 years of great operatic singing. Here's just tenors, mostly Caruso, but there's definitely other ones, including Jan Peerce. So Caruso, of course, is super famous. This was at the turn of the century. This was recorded on 78, so Caruso never sounds great, but cleaned up, I'm sure. This is not cleaned up, maybe now. Everyone kind of knows Maria Callas, famous Greek, right? Or was she Italian? I think she was Greek. Soprano, singing La Boheme here, and singing different arias here from Mozart, Beethoven, and Weber. Here's a Weber. So more stuff. And here's Jan Peerce singing Rigoletto and songs from Don Giovanni, Carmen. Now here are the useless things. Here are the box sets of different operas, but I got these all for like $3 or less. There's a lot of spit. Sorry, $3 or less, and they're just some of the greatest playing, some of the neatest packaging. So you get a book, usually, with all the different words and translations, beautifully packaged. So Libretto is the word I was trying to go for. Oh wow, me just touching this. This is beautiful mono, black, never played. And nobody wants this stuff. So easy to pick up. But again, this is not the way you enjoy an opera. You enjoy it by watching it. So here's Carmen. Once again, so this is from London. Beautiful set. You can tell I even actually played it because here it is on disc keeper sleeves. That means I actually at some point pulled it out. Carmen is one of the most famous operas that you know. Story of the famous clowns. I'll butcher it. Pagliacci, right? Jeez, should have done better with that. That's the sad clown. You know that. You've seen that in lots of different things. The crying clown. So, Red Seal. Again, these things are usually pristine and easily obtained for nothing because nobody, again, wants these. Sorry about that. Got Così fan tutti, the magic flutes. This is if you're going to be introduced to an opera. This is like one of the more comic ones. The magic flute. Seeing them live, of course, is really the ultimate experience. But you may not feel comfortable jumping in like that. I have not felt comfortable subjecting Marissa to that. But often, operas were not meant to be amplified. So when you go into a hall, the singer will probably not be as shrill to you because they're not amplified on a microphone, opposed to these recordings where they are. Marriage of Figaro, of course you know Figaro if you watched Bugs Bunny. Madame Butterfly, this is, you can tell from the 70s. The joke from Trading Places, La Boheme, it's an opera. So, got the La Boheme, also one of the more famous operas, along with Aida, right, from Verdi. Here's a masked ball. This one looks slightly older. You want to open it up real quick? Sure, let's take a look at it. So, got the Libretto, all the different lyrics. This is a beautiful set. Oh man. Even if you don't like opera, if you're just into vinyl collecting, picking up one of these beautiful things. Rigoletto, got a nice textured cover here from Verdi. Attempt to present Rigoletto as Verdi composed it. So somebody bought this, Dick Womack bought this in 1968. So the nice thing about this is you get a Libretto, right? So if you pick this thing up for like $2 or $3, you got the translation and you can read it. Il Trovatore from Verdi. Verdi was like the opera king. Another Verdi. Verdi. And Wagner. So here's not the Ring Cycle. I actually don't own the Ring Cycle. I've been eyeing this one copy on Blu-ray, so it's all 3 operas. But used, the best price I've found is $50. I can't do that. Because I'm not going to watch a 9-hour opera like more than once ever in my life. So I can just watch it on YouTube. But if I ever find it for $20, I might pick it up. The video. I've got all different versions of it here and there on different other medium. But that is my opera collection. I've explained sort of why maybe you giving opera another try is something, something you should do, something you should consider. Getting one of these things to get your feet wet, so at least you can appreciate it. You don't have to watch them. I mean, like I said, lots of sex and murder. People marrying their kids and cousins and whatnot. Very salacious. This is a great place to start. It's got a synopsis of 50 different operas. Kind of guides you of like what to look out for. Another excellent video on YouTube by an enthusiast. He just made it himself. Is the opera story, and it looks like it was made in the 90s on VHS. Some guy just recorded it, and he kind of goes through the basics of what to appreciate. Because having a guiding person to like, this is what you should be looking for, opposed to just going into it and like, I don't get this. This is a snooty crowd. I'm out. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be that way. And as you can see, I've got a little bit of a collection. Not a huge one, but some. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Take care.